The secret of selling to the Negro is expressed in one word. That word is recognition. Now, there's nothing unusual about that. People want to be recognized. They need recognition. That's basic in all of us. But perhaps because he's had so little of it, the Negro needs even more. He needs to feel important and appreciated. This need is a very real and important one. It shows up even in many of the Negro's shopping habits. Anyone who sells or wants to sell to the Negro customer should know about some of these habits. 3 habits in particular play a big part in every sales transaction. To begin with, most Negroes buy by brand. They ask for products by name. They're quick to turn down off-brands. Do you wonder why? Well, listen to what this customer is thinking.
That last hat I bought just didn't hold up at all.
You see, for a long time, the Negro has been sold a lot of shoddy, second-class merchandise. So now he asks for name brands in order to make sure he gets his money's worth. Buying by brand, that's the first important Negro buying habit. Now for the second. The Negro buys good quality merchandise. Symbols of quality and prestige are very important to the Negro customer. This woman, for example, is buying fine crystalware. But she is also buying the admiration and approval of her friends and relatives. Listen to her thoughts.
My, isn't it beautiful? I can hardly wait to show it to Sally and Joan.
It's a well-known fact that many Negro customers are influenced by the opinions of others. What their friends may think of a certain item often decides whether or not the sale is made. So remember, the Negro buys quality merchandise. That's the second important point. And here's the third thing to remember when selling to a Negro customer. When he specifically asks for one thing, don't try to sell him something else. Don't try to switch him at the point of sale. If you do, he'll probably react something like this.
Doesn't he think I've got the money to pay for it?
There's a reason for this reaction. Again, because he's had experience with cheap merchandise, the Negro resents being offered a substitute. He wants to be sold on quality, not price. The Negro buys by brand, he buys quality, and he doesn't like to be switched at point of sale. These are the keys to selling the Negro customer.
I went out and confronted these people with my person. I tried to bring them out of their heads because they have an imagination of their enemy. But actually they don't meet them so much.
Entschuldigung, für was demonstrieren Sie heute? Entschuldigung, für was demonstrieren Sie heute?
Kein Kommentar, ich denke, Sie gehen besser.
Warum machen Sie das jetzt hier? Warum gehen Sie auf die Straße?
Geht den Scheißdreck an.
So, können wir mal ein bisschen weggehen hier?
Wie heißen Sie denn?
Zurück nach Afrika.
Warum soll ich denn nach Afrika gehen? Ich bin ja hier geboren. Was würden Sie denn machen mit den ganzen Menschen, die eben so sind wie ich, die eine andere Hautfarbe haben?
Also die Prognose ist so, dass wenn ein Staat sich wieder nationalisiert, das ist ja, sehen Sie bei anderen Nationalstaaten auch, dass Leute wie Sie dann wahrscheinlich eher dazu tendieren, in Vielvölkerstaaten oder in multikulturelle Schmelztiegel wie die USA auszuwandern.
Wie
da steht
wollen Sie
aber
die
auch,
zurückführen, bitte?
die kriegen einen Ausweisungsbescheid und werden dann ausgewiesen aus Deutschland. Das wird aber jetzt auch schon so praktisch.
You must have a vision for life. What's your vision as a Klansman?
I see it as I'm not a racist.
You're not a racist?
No, I'm not a racist.
Oh.
Nobody is a racist that is in the Klan.
No, but you are wearing like history. You're wearing like hundreds of years of threat and terror.
This is more for ceremonial purposes.
We're ruining the races. We're not improving the races, we're destroying the races.
How does this work?
Race mixing. You know,
And how?
cohabitation.
I mean, how?
Having,
Yeah.
well, a black person and a white person having a child.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, hybrids do pretty well in the first generation, but from then on they don't. You know what a pure black person looks like.
Yeah, but where's the white?
A black person a really black-looking person, don't you see the connection?
Classifications. Don't let them move outside of that white, non-white, white supremacist. You got to be white to be a white supremacist. All right? So these are the classifications. We're not members of a race. Don't ever want to be members of one. Why? Why is it that you shouldn't say, even on a form, that you're a member of a race? One thing is not true. But why is it not true? Race is racism. Okay? So if they say that you can name your race, what do you put there? You put VOR. That's what I put there. Victim of racism. That way they have to ask me, what does that mean? See, when you start putting things on paper that you invent, people have to ask you what it means. That is a form of power. The white supremacists understand this. Now, I have put that on official forms. Sometimes I put B/VOR, Black Victim of Racism.
What's been the response? What's been the response?
The response? People look at it and, okay. That's the response I've always gotten. In that block where it says race, I put B/VOR. If it's not enough space, I'll just put B/VR. But it means the same thing, victim of racism. Because that's who I am. And if anybody asks me about it, that's what I'll say. I'll tell them that's what it means. I'm a victim of racism. I want the whole world to know that. You know, I'm more of that than I am anything. It's not just being black. That doesn't mean anything except somebody made it mean something. And what they made it mean is that I'm supposed to be pushed around. And who did that? The people that came up with this race designation in the first place. Because we didn't know nothing about that until the white supremacists told us.
If you do not understand white supremacy racism, what it is, how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Information and guide for compensatory thought, speech, and or action. Racism, a basic perspective. The matter sometimes referred to as the race problem is the basic initial unfinished business among the people of the known universe. Therefore, it is not possible to effectively speak and or act to eliminate any major problem that involves people without first eliminating the problem of racism, white supremacy in every area of people activity, including economics, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, war, and counter-war. In order to do this, it is necessary for victims of racism or non-white people in effective numbers to know and understand who the racist white supremacists are, how they function, and know and understand how the power of the racists to practice racism can be nullified and or eliminated by victims of racism, speaking and or acting as individual persons, all by choice, according to a compensatory counter-racist code based on the logic of cause and effect. Cause and effect, effect and cause. Cause and effect, effect and cause. Constructive and non-constructive. Constructive and non-constructive. These are the things to seek to know and understand. Everything that every person and every culture does or does not do is at all times either constructive or non-constructive in effect. There is no other value measure for anything that is said or done. In every area of existence, every event is either constructive or non-constructive. This is according to the logic that is part of the laws of the known universe. Welcome to On the Shoulders of Giants. I am Joseph Ward. And this week, we are beginning our reading of the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, a compensatory counter-racist code. A textbook workbook for thought, speech, action, and or action. A textbook / workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism or white supremacy. And this is by Neely Fuller Jr. We have completed our reading of the ISIS papers by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. And as you know, as I always do, I put a poll up, an image poll up on my community page, and with 33% of the votes. Neely Fuller Jr.'s book, The Compensatory Code, came out on top with the most votes. In second place was Dr. Claude Anderson's Powernomics. Third place was Dr. Amos Wilson's The African-Centered Consciousness versus the New World Order. And the fourth place was the Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. So we are diving into the compensatory code, and we start off understanding what racism is. Race is racism, but race or racism is the basic or the major problem that is confronting us here in the known universe. All right. And that's what Neely Fuller is getting at. And so the book is starting off. So like I was reading in the beginning of the title of the book, this is a textbook. It is written like a textbook. It should be understood as a textbook, consumed as a textbook, and used as a textbook. And so after giving the basic perspective of race, he goes into breaking down the 9 areas of human activity. And so the 9 areas of human activity, once again, are economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, war, or counter war. And we know this from our reading of the ISIS papers by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. So let's go area by area. So economics does not mean simply acquiring, saving, and or spending money. Economics is not a tool of money. Money is a tool of economics. Economics is the result of people speaking and acting effectively in the production of justice and correctness. If it is not simply how money is handled that determines economics. It is a matter of how everything is handled and to what end. Economics pertain to how all time and all energy is used. Area 2 is education. Education means the process of learning all things about all things and or the process of learning all things about one thing. If all is known about one thing, then all is known about all things because all things are interrelated, that united field theory. Any learning situation is a school, and any school is a learning situation, regardless of time or place. A person who is learning is at that time in school. All education should be for the purpose of correct problem solving and solving the problem of white supremacy. Area 3 is entertainment. Entertainment means any activity that is desired or enjoyed, including that which is just or unjust and that which is correct or incorrect. Entertainment can be either constructive or non-constructive. Area 4 is labor. Labor means any act of using time and energy to accomplish an objective. Constructive labor can and should be entertaining. Area 5 is law. Law means anything that is done. Area 6 is politics. Politics means people relations and or any interaction between people at any time and any place in any area of activity. And one thing that Neely Fuller is getting at is all these areas of activity are interrelated. They all interconnect because all things are connected, like we know with the unified field theory. Area 7 is religion. A person's religion is anything that a person strongly believes, plus what a person supports by his or her willful actions. Area 8 is sex. Sex means any socio-material interaction between a male and a female. Area 9 is war. War means any willful and deliberate, unjust or non-correct speech and or actions that are directly or indirectly used effectively against any creature, person, etc. Counter war means speech and or action used to stop a person, animal, or etc. from doing unjust and or non-correct harm, and the sum total of all words and all deeds that help to eliminate racism and helps to replace racism, white supremacy, with justice and balance between people. All areas of activity are interrelated. Everything is connected in these areas of human activity, because racism affects all these areas of human activity. And if racism affects one area of human activity, it affects all areas of human activity. Okay, so next, Neely Fuller gets into the 4 basic motivating factors for people behavior in the known universe. And so he's literally saying that these are the 4 highest motivating factors of human activity, of people behavior. right? So the highest factor is racism, white supremacy. The second highest factor is reaction to racism. The third highest factor is sexual expression. And the fourth highest factor is reaction to sexual expression. And he has explanations for everything that he has in this book. All right. So racism in the form of white supremacy is the greatest motivating force by people that exist among the people of the known universe. All right. Every person in the known universe is either practicing white supremacy or he or she is compelled at all times to react to those persons who are practicing white supremacy. So that is the highest motivating force to either practice white supremacy or to resist white supremacy. That's the highest motivating factor of human behavior, of people behavior. The second, well, the second, of course, is the reaction. So actually, those are the first two. So racism is the first basic motivating factor of people behavior. The second is the reaction to racism. Now, the third is sexual intercourse or sexual expression. So sexual intercourse and or sexual play is the second greatest motivating force by people that exist among people of the known universe. No other socio-material force by people affects so many people in so many places, so much in so many areas of activity as the factors of racism and sex. Racism and sex affect every area of human activity. Let's go back. Let's go back through it. Economics. Racism affect the economics of people and affect how people have sex and relate to sex and view sex. Education, economics, racism can either affect whether you receive an education or you don't. Sex can be embedded into the sex. Matter of fact, sex affects it because sex can be something that can be determined that can distract people from earning an education. Entertainment, well, the sex sells in entertainment, and most people in entertainment is used as a tool for racism, for racial propaganda. Labor. Well, racism can affect whether you get a job or not. Sex, you can use sex as a form of labor. Law. Well, racism can affect which laws are made. Some laws are made to prevent the sale of sex. Politics. Racism and sex can affect what laws are made and what politicians get to where they need to get. Religion. Well, racism and sex can affect the messages that people give. And sex is something that is caught up in the churches all the time. Racism, remember the slave Bible? Racism can affect the type of religion you receive. Racism can affect the actual religion you receive. Because remember, black people in America were given the religions that we have. And sex is everywhere in the church. War. Well, grape is used as a form of war. And remember, and with racism, well, remember how black people were used in the all the wars that America were in, put on the front line as expendable bodies or even not even allowed to fight. So racism and sex affects all areas of human activity, but likewise, all other areas of human activity affect all areas of human activity. Remember that. Racism in the form of white supremacy is the greatest motivating factor for people that exist among people of the known universe. Remember that. Sexual intercourse is the second greatest motivating force by people that exist among the people of the known universe. All right, let's move forward. 3 basic goals sought by most people of the known universe. So the 3 basic goals that people seek. The first basic goal is to survive by any means necessary. The second basic goal is to dominate others through deceit and or direct violence, including the threat of direct violence. Or the third is to establish peace. All right. So there's an explanation for this. Most people in the known universe have no major goal greater than to survive by any means necessary. Most of the smartest and most powerful people in the known universe have no major goal greater than dominating and abusing others using deceit, direct violence, and or the threat of violence. Few people have no major goal greater than the establishment of peace. All right. Well, we have examples of all of this. We all know we we want to survive. That's our basic need is survival. We know that. But then we also see the domination of people and the deceit used to gain more resources to make your survival better than others. We see that. And then peace, like you said, there's a small number of people who really want to establish peace. I think there's a great number of people who want peace, but there's a small number of people who really want to establish peace. There's a difference between wanting it and being in the process or working to establish it. All right. So let's move forward in this textbook called The Compensatory Code. So two basic problems among people of the known universe. First is a lack of knowledge and understanding of the reason for one's existence and or for one's non-existence, compounded by and promoted by, which is the second basic problem, which is the practice of racism, white supremacy. Let me read that again. Two basic problems among the people of the known universe. The first is a lack of knowledge and understanding of the reason for one's existence and or for one's non-existence, compounded by and promoted by the second basic problem, which is the practice of white supremacy racism. The explanation is every problem among the people of the known universe can be traced to a lack of knowledge and understanding of the logical reason for one's existence and or non-existence, compounded and promoted by the practice of racism in the form of white supremacy. This is true in all areas of activity. I agree. Racism is a basic problem of everything that is wrong in the world. And if you don't understand that racism is the basic root of the problems of everything else, all other ills that we deal with on a regular basis grow out of the seed of racism. America, that's how America was built. That's how the Western worlds were built, off of racism. White supremacy, the system of white supremacy was built so the Western world can thrive. And the only way to get rid of that is to get rid of racism, to get rid of the system of racism. The people who practice the system of racism have the greatest power to get rid of the system of racism. But they're not going to get rid of the system of racism because it benefits them.